What's good, Liberators? Fingers here, and this is Dx2 Demon Review, and today we are here with Moirae's sister, the second, the Femme Lachesis, one of the three Moirae sisters in Greek lore. She is the apportioner, measuring the thread which determines each person's lifespan with a rod. She is said to have participated in the Titanomachy, helping the gods by killing the giants Agrius and Thoas with bronze clubs. So she is down to ride. Let's check her out. The middle sister. She has a decent magic stat, 180, though you don't really get much play on that unless you have her in a archetype that no one uses, to be perfectly frank. I mean, when you've got intimidating stance as the psychic option, it is hard to argue against that. For Mitama's magic, vitality, luck, avoid everything else. She's a slow roller, so you don't want to mess with her agility, especially since you want her chain effect popping off when it does, especially when she's standing next to her sister Atropos. For example, if you up Atropos' agility beyond Lachesis, then she will activate her chain effect attack before Lachesis will activate her chain effect buff, which is just foolishness. We all know you want to buff, then attack. So leave that agility alone. She's meant to go second in line, and she will, if you just leave it as is. It will function as necessary. She nulls both light and darkness, which in 2022 is extremely useless. Speaking of extremely useless, her transferable skill, Makaraka Shift, activates following chain effect at the beginning of a battle if the enemy attacks first. Casts Makarakarn, which of course reflects magic attacks unless they have a pierce effect, which they all do, making this completely laughable. It's never reflected a spell in its life ever in the history of mankind. It won't reflect almighty skills either, so it is just a big waste of a skill slot. Unfortunate, but there it is. For her first unique skill, Zipassionate Embrace, plus 10% to max HP. Hey, can't go wrong there. I've got her in panel 1, and with life brands, with a healthy focus on life, I was able to get her up to a generous 3,735. So that's a little something. That's a nice little touch. And the big money activates the following chain effect at the start of enemy's turn. When there are 3 or more surviving femme lady demons in your party, mostly meaning she's standing next to the other Moirae sisters, or a Ji Wang Mu if you're feeling wild. Reduces all enemy attack and defense, and increases own party's attack and defense by 20%. Very nice. It sets up Atropos' chain attack, which just sweeps you with lightning and fire, buffs her attack, reduces enemy attack, defense, and then you just go wild on them. Her primary role is really just to, more often than not, she's just there for her passive effects. This one, notably. And I would guess 9 times out of 10 you're probably passing with her, unless you transfer something, another kind of buff skill onto her, or maybe even prayer or something to that effect. But even having her just sit there can be very, very useful. And for her other unique skill, Measured Fate, removes debuffs from all party members. Nice. It ensures that her chain effect skill, her Passionate Embrace, will always get you buffed up and always get your enemies buffed down at the start of their turn. Removes buffs and good status null mortal effects from all enemies. So she basically resets any negative effects on you and any positive effects on your enemies. And then Passionate Embrace kicks in, making sure your enemy's attack goes down, defense goes down, your attack goes up, your defense goes up. So very, very nice. Works really well with her chain effect. But you will often find yourself in situations where you don't even need to do this because your buffs are on, their debuffs are on, and you're already good to go. So you find yourself just kind of passing along, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine because our girl here's already done her job. I got her in Psychic for the God tier skill that remains to be Intimidating Stance. Activates the volume chain effect at the beginning of a battle. If the enemy attacks first, reduces one enemy. Press turn icon to maximum per battle. In PvP, this skill is insanely useful. That's why it took Sega a little. They were a little slow in the uptake on this one. It took them a little while, but then they realized, gee, Jiminy Jilligers, Intimidating Stance is really useful. That's why everyone still is using Zhong Kui and a level 1 Baihu to Intimidating Stance people. And everyone's trying to make these super slow teams. So they finally realized it, and now perhaps they realized it too much because, good lord, every slow roller comes with this in their Psychic variant. So, hey, there it is. And now there's no end to Intimidating Stance demons. We used to only have 3. And one of them was a 3-star demon. So my how times have changed. As for the transferables, I gotcha'd her with Evade, and I never took it off. Her agility is, what, 92? 92. So it's a tough sell, but you can make it work. You can make those dodge teams work, but dodge teams, much like physical teams, it don't work unless the Tsukakaja's up and the Secunda's on at all times, or else you aren't going to be dodging anything. Similarly, if you're running a physical team and Tsukakaja's not up, Secunda's not on, you're going to be missing far more than you'd like. So be sure to buttress in any kind of evasion build with Tsukakaja. Speaking of Tsukakaja, giving her auto Tsukakaja or auto Secunda or both would not go amiss. I've seen plenty of PvP teams, plenty of sisters teams roll that way. That way you get the full debilitate and the full luster candy automatically at the start of every fight, which is a tide turner. I mean, statistically speaking, that's how you that's how you get the best odds for survival. Other than that, of course, you've got your Endures, your Enduring Souls. You could slap Prayer on her if you want her to be removing ailments. However, if you have sisters that are each have panel 2, you're completely immune to ailments. But not everyone has panels. We all know it. They're hard to come by. So that is an option. But hey, even if you just give her passive things and spend most of your time just passing with her, that is perfectly fine too, and you can still make that work just fine. As for brands, life brands are probably you gotta go life brands. Non-negotiable. Give this girl some health. Sisters are a slow rolling team. They need to survive that first wave. The level of pain a speedster team can dish out in 2022 is insane. So you gotta, these girls need to be thick. THICC, thick, or they ain't gonna last the afternoon. So make sure you get those life brands on. And I would say go with either guard brands or evasion brands, because physical attacks are the turn 1 killer. There's the ungodly amount of punishment you can dish out with physical teams. It's insane. The only other demons that can match him are demons whose magic attack skill can crit and operates like a physical skill because they can crit. Demons like Dimensional Cerberus, Dimensional Koholin, whose wind-based and fire-based skills hit like physical skills, they can miss like physical skills, and they can crit like physical skills, which makes all the difference in the world. Magic demons are a tough sell, especially against sisters teams, because all of them are weak to nothing, as we can see here. So getting these girls with magic is going to be hard when you're not able to get half press turns. So make a note of that. As for the panels, panel 1, the one with this skill is alive. Femme and Lady allies gain null poison. Similarly, panel 2, Femme and Lady allies gain null bind. These 2 panels combined with the other Moirae sisters' 2 panels give you blanket immunity from ailments, which is, I think it's very cool. It frustrated a lot of people when these girls first came out. I believe I was still running an ailment team when these girls first came out, which pretty much no, it was my Undead Alice team. All right, these girls came out right after Undead Alice, if I'm not mistaken. So these girls were, they shut that curse game. They shut it down quick. You'd run into sisters teams and it was like, oh god, do they have that null curse panel? Okay, here we go. And then that was that, and I got sick of seeing that, and that's when I switched out, had to move on. But there it is. That's how the game goes. And for her panel 3, plus 20% to max HP, which she desperately needs, especially in 2022, and plus 20% to physical evasion rate, making that evasion build very, very tempting. The best way to shut down a Speedster physical team is just have them swinging at air. There are plenty of slippery Marias and Jiwang moves, and if you're running either of those 2 girls, I would strongly recommend the evasion build. I have seen some of those girls, especially slippery, where these days I am afraid to attack them off rip, because it's like, oh god, oh no, I gotta make sure the Tsukikage is up and the Sukunda's on. I don't even want to take the chance. I don't even want to risk swinging on those girls these days, because people are making them super slippery, and their agility is not great, so you can get that super evasion build going on her. And if you have this panel 3, I would say ditch the guard brands, go for the evasion brands, and see just how high you can take that. Give her the evade skill, auto Tsukikage, make sure Sukunda's up, and just watch them swing at air. And before we wrap it up with the second lady of Moirae in our featured trilogy, let's check out the archetype skills. Though psychic, intimidating stance, if you're running her in PvP, there's what could they possibly offer us? But let's check it out. The origami archetype rattle, a whopping 8 MP, and that's in the archetype slot, reduced from 9. Good lord. Inflicts almighty magic damage on all enemies and reduces all enemies' evasion and accuracy by 20%. This would be very cool. She already nerfs attack and defense. This nerfs evasion and accuracy alongside it. So, hey, it's cool, but in practice, in order to do any damage with this, you would have to sacrifice a boatload of her HP. And sacrificing HP on your intimidating stance, slow rolling team, that's a quick way to get splattered in 1.5 press turns. So you got to be careful doing that. And for the debuff, you can always slap on auto Sukunda, auto Tsukikage on her to fill that role. The intimidating stance is just too tactically valuable to sacrifice. For the protector archetype, agile cry. Now I love this, right? She already does the double buff debuff on attack and defense. Agile cry reduces enemies' evasion accuracy, increases your evasion accuracy, giving you all the things you need. Awesome, very cool. But again, they're giving up intimidating stance for this, which is, I just can't do it. Probably better off going with giving her the double set of auto Tsukikage, auto Sukunda, and just rolling auto style, because then you can use the archetype slot for the big winner of the day, psychic, intimidating stance, full stop. And finally, the elementalist archetype, Drain Light, which just stop it. Stop it, elementalists. Just go sit in the corner. We're done with you. We're done with you today. Turning a null into a drain. Just, for the love of Pete. And that's all I got today for the middle child, the Jan Brady of the Moirae sisters, but far, far more useful and way hotter. So, that's all I got for today, Liberators. Stay safe out there and don't get captured.